Yeah, no, I'm about to go live. I'm about to do the show. I'll speak to you later. I'm joking, people. What's going on? Man's ready. Man's inside the place. Man's on the thing. It is Dan Lewis live. I'm back with a smile. I'm back with a vibe. You know what it is. Come on with a real bad man thing. How are we doing? Are you good? Hit me up in the comments. Let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know how your vibes in. Let me know what you've been up to. Have you been watching the news today? Rah! You. There's all kinds of tomfoolery going on. Nice one for the likes, people already coming in real hard there. I love that. I love that. My name is Dan Lewis. This is Dan Lewis Live, brought to you by my little project I'm working on called Think Become. Make sure you check out the website, thinkbecome.uk. It's a whole damn vibe. Trust me. And if you're loving the thing, watch the show first if you haven't seen it before, but go check out my website. Maybe send me a little donation on PayPal so that I can keep this thing going, because the aim in this show is that we bring independent media news stories to you, the kind that you wouldn't normally get on the 6 p.m. news, or you wouldn't get from the mainstream noise that is created on social media. Now, I believe in independent media. I believe that independent media gets a hard time in general across the board, and I definitely believe in a lot of the independent media that support a different narrative, which is a more left idea of thinking in terms of politics and the way we live our lives. And it's not specifically, oh man, knocked the microphone, sorry if that was a bit loud, and it's not specifically about politics. It's about the way in which, or party politics, it's about the way in which things are done, the way in which workplaces operate, the way in which we look after each other in our communities. Yesterday we had a little early show, couple of you tuned in, yeah, big up you guys who tuned in, but I was talking a lot about the kind of change that we can make in our communities, the kind of change that we can make in this country through little actions that we can do just in our neighborhoods, in our own worlds, in our workplaces. Today, we're going to talk about some of the bigger things that are going on in the world and the way in which some of the kind of corporate entities that exist, including the media, are damaging basically our lives, and also are working with the fascist government that we have right now. And one thing on this show, we will never, ever shy away from the fact that the current government who are ruling this country are fascists. They are fascists. They are racist. They are horrible. They are nasty. And this show is 100% anti-capitalist. So if you're pro-capitalist, you ain't got to go home, but you got to turn this off. I don't know where the button is, but don't be hanging about with me if you pro-capitalism, my G. If you want to learn a little bit about anti-capitalism, then come hang out with the man them. You get me? Come on, right? Now, obviously, you know what? Yeah, I feel like I should be getting sponsored by the Canary out here on this one, because I've been featuring these guys on the regs. Now, real talk, you guys do a great job over at the Canary. And today we're covering an article from the main man, is Steve Topple himself. Now, this one is a bit of a local thing, you get me? Like, for some people, public transport, it's about the buses. It's about to become more of a monopoly. Now, big up the Canary, though. These guys every day delivering all kinds of news from all across the UK and the world. And again, it's the kind of stuff you don't get in the mainstream. Don't forget, people, hit us up in the comments if you've got anything to say about what we're talking about. I definitely want to get your opinions in on the show as well, because, we think to become greater people. Thinkbecome.uk. Check out the website. Anyway, straight onto this article. Steve, you know what? Yeah, I like this one. I like the way it's laid out. The Canary are always easy to read. I like that. Some newspapers, they go back and forth and rare. You go on the Canary, boom, it's a bad man thing. Now, two of the biggest companies that are in like the transport sector in the UK right now have basically decided to announce that they are merging into one. Now, some people might say this is good. This is good. It means that there's not that kind of this company running this line and that company running that line. But what it actually means is they can drown out the competition. Now, I'm not really in favor of competition in public transport, because public transport should be for the public, by the public, and owned by the public. You know what I'm saying? But in the situation that we're in at the moment, it means that one company are now going to be able to decide in a lot of places where the bus routes are going to be, which means, for example, where I used to Hey, oh my days, I'm back. Storm Barra, or whatever that storm was called, has caused me all kinds of problems. Man keeps getting disconnected out here. Don't worry, we'll fix it. If you want to help me, donate to the PayPal. It's in the comments right now. Hook me up, help me out, and we can try and improve the internet connection out here. Real talk, man. Back to the story, though. Apologies about that, guys. We're trying our best out here. Now, back to the story. Basically, I used to work up in Morecambe and Loonsdale, right? So up there, it's like you got Morecambe, which is the town, and Loonsdale, which is like the countryside, bro. If you're like me, then it's like the sticks, man. One bus every 2 blood clot hours and all that. You get me? But like basically, there's like not many bus companies that operate around there. Now, if there's only one company that operates the buses in the Lancaster district, and they can decide which are the most valuable routes, and they can start to take away some of those routes. Now, if you've only got one bus every 2 hours and they decide suddenly, oh, well, it's not very profitable, we're just not going to run a bus service, you're stranded. Like, there's not railway stations. It's not like London, Manchester, Birmingham, where you can get about quick things. But even in the cities, in the more populated areas, they can have a bigger impact on the way we get about. Obviously, man like Andy Burnham in Manchester is trying to change around the system in Manchester so that they can have a better bus service or transport service overall. But when it comes to one bus company having such a monopoly over the routes that are available, it's going to be very, very difficult. Now, let's have a look into the details of this, because it doesn't just impact the customers, which is, very, very important to the likes of you and I, but this also does have an impact on the workers. Now, the workers, at the end of the day, can be you or I. Not too long ago, bus drivers were out on strike for pay, and that affected a lot of people. A lot of people were like, why they gotta go on strike? Aren't they paid enough already? Well, you know what? If these companies are able to do 1.9 billion pound deals on how they merge, then they can pay their bus drivers a little more money, especially when they are also key workers that were working during the pandemic, driving other workers to workplaces where they needed to be, including our NHS staff, including the people working in the supermarkets. Don't know, them lot done a lot. Now, it says here that it was reported that the deal was also likely to attract the attention of Competition and Markets Authority, as the enlarged company would control over 40,000 vehicles and 70,000 staff. So on that staff side of things, I'm glad to hear that RMT have already stepped up and said, yo, we're going to be watching what's going on. That is the trade union that represents some bus drivers. Also, Unite, the union, who also represent some bus drivers and people who work in the transport industry, because let's not forget, there's the offices behind the things that keep going, the people who work in the yards, the engineers who keep the buses going, all of them kind of people there, all involved in the transport industry or in the bus industry. Now, those two trade unions have stepped up and they've said, listen, look, you're going to mess around, we're going to come at force, you get me? We're not going to take no changes in terms and conditions, because this is what happens. If you've ever worked in a company where another company has taken over or they've merged, they try and lower down the standards for the workers. Oh, well, we never used to pay our staff that much, or oh, well, you know what, we don't give our staff that much annual leave, or no, our staff don't get 2-hour lunches, they only get 1 hour. I don't know how long lunch, you know what I mean? I work from home, like lunch is just all day while I'm working, you know what I mean? I have the unhealthiest work-life balance ever. But real talk, these kind of things here, they're important, and it's important to the workers. And if they do start to impact on the workers' lives, because let's not forget, these workers, they've all got families and people they need to go home to as well, then they're going to kick up a fuss, and they're going to have to go to their trade unions and start to work with their other members, looking at how they challenge these companies. So it's fantastic to see that the trade unions have jumped up on this. Now, mention there about the Competition and Markets Authority. I was about to say something else, but it was the wrong word. I knew it. The Competition and Markets Authority. Basically, they have a look into, how much, if there is a big business that has a monopoly over a certain industry, about whether they have to sell off the business and maybe split it into 2 or 3 or something, which really for me doesn't make a lot of sense. In like, what's the point in allowing these businesses to do this if you're then going to make them break up? But then when they break up, it's basically the same people running the 2 damn things. It's all a bit mad, in my opinion. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it works. And the reason for that is capitalism. When capitalism, you allow these things to happen. And basically, if we started to switch things around and we had a publicly owned bus service or transport service across the UK, trains, planes, buses, taxis, imagine nationalized taxi services. You know, they wouldn't cost so much. But real talk, it is a madness because it is the privatized bus companies that have caused us to get into a state where, as reported by Steve in the Canary, the former UN poverty rapporteur, don't know if you guys remember, but Philip Alston came to the UK and he slammed the UK's bus network as a deeply fragmented system that would shock those not accustomed to it. Now, the Canary have previously reported that the RMT has been taking action against Stagecoach on pay and working conditions, and basically Stagecoach, they're not a first-time offender when it comes to this. I love that the Canary have gone into this. They've actually looked into what's going on with the trade unions. You never normally get that. Watch the BBC News. They never talk about the trade unions unless they have to. But RMT and Unite have had issues with bus services before, whether it be Stagecoach and now National Express, and that's worrying. It's worrying that these companies have got a history of not being fair to their workers. They're now going to have control over so many workers. Here's an idea for you guys. How about we just get the workers to own the whole damn thing? I think it'll be a whole better world, a whole better place, and I think it'll be a lot more fantastic for a lot more people. Nice one for tuning in, guys. Good to see you, Wendy. Good to see you, Cecilia. Thank you very much for tuning in. Big up the Canary for that article. Really appreciate them going into detail. If you do want to check out more on it, just head on over to their website. It is on their main page. Just Google the Canary and you'll be able to find that article with more detail, more facts, more figures. Big up Steve Darno, the Darno. Now, let's keep moving on with the news today. We keeps it independent. We keeps it real. And over to David Leask at Open Democracy. Now, this one, I had to do a bit of research on this one. See, this is the other reason I do this show, right? Sometimes some of the things we hear about in the news, we don't know everything about it. We don't understand everything they're talking about. So, sanction busting UK shell company exported coal from North Korea. Now, when you look at that, you think Shell, like as in, you know, the petrol company, right? Nah, fam. So a Shell company, in case you didn't know, because I had to Google this thing, I had to make sure I got it right, you know what I'm saying? But basically, a Shell company is basically a loophole for companies to get away with, like, they call it tax avoidance rather than tax evasion, and to get away with maybe setting up some competition in the market so that they can put other businesses out of business. It is a holy messed up process within the business world that I just think is unacceptable. So what you do is, if you don't want to hold any liability to yourself, to your company, the brand of your company, set up a shell company over there that can go and maybe pick up some coal from North Korea. Now, what's happened in this story here is that basically, also just to add in there, that these shell corporations, British ones specifically, are regularly identified as a risk of money laundering, secrecy, and corruption. Now, the government have said, and it says in the article a little bit more about this, that the government have said they're looking at new corruption laws to come into place, new regulations to try and stop this stuff. But let's be honest. We're talking about Boris's government, huh? Alexander the Pfeffel, yeah, the guy who doesn't even use his real name as the Prime Minister of the UK. Like, are you telling me my man, Mr. Boris, I don't believe in racism, Johnson, is gonna actually do something about corruption? Probably gurning a couple of quid off of the whole thing himself. Man's had a few jobs himself while he's been in Parliament. You know what I'm saying? Now, so this firm that we're talking about today with the coal is called Solgan Invest. And what they did was they shipped 3 consignments of, now I think I've got this right, anthracite, which is basically hard coal, from North Korea to Russia. Now, the time when they did it, I think it was within a month of there was it was in September 2017, and it was at the same time that North Korea were testing nuclear weapons or nuclear missiles. Now, let's not get onto the conversation about nuclear. That's another episode. That's a whole nother episode. But anyway, real talk, yeah, what they're doing. But there was a sanction with the UN, the United Nations had put in a sanction to say, no, you can't trade with them. There's this, you can't do this, you can't do that, because North Korea are not allowed to use nuclear weapons. They did testing with the nuclear weapons, and they got sanctions put in against them. So basically, I know it was like a long time ago, but the reason this has come out is because they got found with the coal at a Russian port. The Russian port or the Russian authorities took the coal off of them and like, no, this is naughty. You shouldn't have done that. And they've put it in their port. And then the company since then has basically dissolved. So it's like, meh. It was registered to somewhere in the Jewelry Quarter in Birmingham, of all places, but they can't seem to find anyone to do with it. And now Russia's like, well, we want the company to pay for us keeping this coal all this time. But the company are like, we don't exist. And then the UK government are kind of like, well, we've got laws to protect this. And it's all just a big mess. Russia wants its money for looking after the coal. I don't know why they're looking after the coal. Really, we should put the coal back in the ground because, you know, Green Industrial Revolution and all them things, COP26, Greta Thunberg and all that stuff there. I don't know why we're sitting around with coal. I don't know why anyone's buying big tons of coal and everything. But the coal's sitting in Russia right now at a port somewhere over there near North Korea. And Russia wants some money for the storage of the coal since then. Woo! Did that all make sense to you? Good. So basically, they're calling it fuel. For the cost of storing the confiscated fuel is what they're saying. They want the money. But this is the problem. Where I've gone round and round in circles, who is to pay? Who is to do anything about it? The company was originally set up in 2012. Trying to find the people involved in it is like... Now, in the same year, 2017, that they actually imported the Korean coal, the limited liability partnership claimed a loss of little over £600 and said it had no income. You get how it's all working out. Why would you set up a company that's importing coal from North Korea at a time when it's probably not a good idea to be doing dealings with North Korea, and your companies are earning a loss? It just doesn't make sense. Oh, wait, hold on. Corruption. That's basically what's going on here. Now, the moral of this story, or the reason I bring this story up, I'm just knocking things all over the place today. I'm so excited to be with you guys. But basically, the moral of this story, or the outcome of this, reason why I've covered it, is because this is happening so much, and so often these companies are getting away with it because the laws in this country allow them to. The government is allowing them to, and they are not. The government are not going to do anything about it. It is probably very, very likely. I don't know how close I am to slander on this statement, but it is probably very, very likely that people linked to, or people in the government, as in politicians, may be making money out of this kind of stuff. Not specifically this story that we're talking about today, but other situations that may be slightly similar. Spot on there, Alex. Tax avoidance is a total sham. It's tax evasion. End of story. I 100% agree with you. There's no question on that one. Now, boom, big up Open Democracy. Thank you very much for covering that story, because you wouldn't have seen that on the mainstream media, especially detailed in the way that they did. Big up David Lease, by the way, who reported on that one. If you do want to check it out, Google Open Democracy. The story is there on their front page today. Now, I didn't advertise this one because this one wasn't under my radar until this afternoon, after I'd already put out the adverts for today's show. But we are heading on over to Byline Times. Big up Sam Bright at Byline Times, by the way, yeah? Sam's just coming out with a boop, 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 boop every time. Come on. Whee! I love this. Right, so this just shows exactly where our government are at. 81% of Downing Street media meetings held with right-wing newspapers. You wouldn't have thought it, would you? I would have never guessed. But no, real talk, on a real live level, it's good that people are scrutinizing what the government are doing in terms of the media, and I will get more to the point at the end of the story. But basically, it is fucking annoying, the fact that this government literally only deal with right-wing media. And even in the article from Byline Times, it talks about the fact that Boris says one of these media organizations is basically like his boss. He jokes about it. He thinks it's a funny thing. So what we man can't get his words out today. Now, what we're talking about in this story is the fact that the majority of official Downing Street and Cabinet Office ministerial meetings conducted with journalists have actually been with right-wing newspapers. Byline Times are obviously the on the exclusive here. So what they've done is they've looked back from the beginning of 2020 to June 2021, and they've looked at ministers, the Cabinet Office, you know, anyone in and out of Downing Street, how many meetings they've held, because this information is available publicly. So in total, there have been 86 official meetings with members of the media, 70 of which have been with journalists or executives at right-wing newspapers. Also, 12 of the meetings have also been with the broadcast media, while only 2 of them have been with liberal or left-leaning titles. You know, the article speaks for itself. The first paragraph pretty much tells you what's going on. Now, every 3 months, the government, they release like this information to say what meetings they've had and what the meetings have been about in terms of the media, and that's what Byline have done. They've taken that, they've had a look into it, specifically as well Boris Johnson's meetings, to see exactly who he's talking to. Now, let's not forget that also there is like the connections between Downing Street, current members of parliament, and the media. There is a lot of relations there, and what I'll do is I'll come on to that in just a moment. Now, the reason why that's important is because the media should be there to scrutinize the government. The media should be there to have a look at what they're doing, question what they're doing. Now, it's okay for some media to be a bit to the left, a bit to the right, and have an opinion to say, this is great, this is bad. You know what I mean? However, at the moment, it is the media at the moment is dominated by right-wing organizations, and the media at the moment are not scrutinizing the government. You might as well call the media Keir Starmer the way they're going on right now. It's a mad thing, honestly. But what is happening is that we are seeing, especially in independent media, is some scrutiny of the relationship between the people who run these, the right-wing press, and Downing Street. Specifically because recently there have been the Downing Street party revolutions from Christmas last year, where people have found out that the media were in on the parties while we were all at home following the rules, weren't we? Now, coming back to what I was saying before, let's just go through this list here that Byline have put out, right? So former Downing Street Director of Communications, James Slack, is now the deputy editor of The Scum, who was replaced by Jack Doyle, who previously worked as an associate at the editor, as an associate editor at the Daily Mail. The current political editor of The Scum is Harry Coyle, and that is the former boyfriend of Boris Johnson's wife, Carrie. Now, I don't know about you guys, but these guys, former boyfriends and girlfriends, they don't have big fallouts in the way that you see on Hollyoaks, I don't know, EastEnders. They all still chat to each other. They all get along. You know what I'm saying? Now, Allegra Stratton, you remember her? I wasn't at the party. There might have been cheese. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm losing my £120,000 job. Remember her? Yeah. So basically, she was the Prime Minister's former spokesperson who was forced to resign last week. Last week, following the release of a video showing her seemingly joking about the party, as mentioned before. But she is married to James Forsyth, the current political editor of The Spectator magazine and a columnist at The Times. The list goes on. Rishi Sunak is a childhood friend of Forsyth and was the best man at his wedding. Oh, both Johnson and Gove were former journalists and have been the editor of The Spectator while serving as an MP, columnist at The Telegraph, and graduate trainee at The Times. Woof, don't forget Boris was actually sacked from that role for fabricating quotes. Now, Johnson also, let's not forget, during COP26, when man was meant to be talking about the environment and how we're going to save the world. Obviously, man's not going to do that. But he flew back from Glasgow to London. Why did he fly back? It wasn't important COVID meetings. It wasn't important we need to feed the children meetings. It wasn't important we need to give our NHS, our key workers, all a pay rise. It was so that he could go to the Telegraph reunion party with Lord Charles Moore, which is also, the Telegraph is who he refers to as his real boss. Imagine a prime minister that refers to a newspaper that promotes his political party as his boss rather than the people who elected him into power. Imagine a prime minister that cares more about what really rich people that run the media have to say, what cares more about what businesses have to say than the people who actually voted him into power, the people who pay his wages, the people who go to work every day to help this economy keep running, the people who wake up every day and listen to him during the pandemic. They did everything he said during the pandemic. He doesn't refer to them as his boss. He doesn't refer to them as anything other than a problem. But the people who are causing problems and the people who continue to spread lies about working class people, the Telegraph, he refers to as his boss. Now you see in which the problem lies. Now, the list goes on. You know, we can talk about Rebecca Brooks, News UK, the type of meetings that she's had, also with people from senior people in the Scum newspaper who have had very specific meetings with Boris Johnson, some of them in the paperwork noted down as social meetings. But the fact that they have had so many more meetings than more liberal or left-leaning newspapers is an indictment, really, on what is going on in Parliament, in Whitehall, in 10 Downing Street at the moment, which is why we need more independent media. So, guys, if you can, please do show me your support. Hit me up. It's in the comments. It's in the reply on Twitter. Just send a little bit of money if you can. Help me keep doing what I do. Help me keep this show running. Also, make sure you hit the share button. If you're on Twitter, hit retweet. If you're on Facebook, hit share. If you're on YouTube, copy the link and send it to your friends on your WhatsApp groups. Top WhatsApp group right now, just send it there. Send it to all your brethren. Hit the like buttons, hit the RTs, all of them things there. And if you are on YouTube, please definitely do subscribe. Help me keep going. Help me hold this government to account and help me support independent media. That's what the thing is. That's what we're about. Now, listen, guys, we're coming to the end of the show. I know. I don't want it to end either, but it's calm. Don't worry about the thing, people. I've got some good news to bring you. Dano, it's Rooftop News. News worth shouting about. I love these guys. These guys make me smile so much, man. Now, Lizzie Lou, I love her name, Lizzie Lou. Lizzie Lou is reporting about the free community meals for Peckham residents this Christmas. Come on, free food. Dano. I love that. Now, basically, there's a charity that came out of Peckham. Runs also in Bow Road. It's called Food Cycle, and what they do is they use surplus foods to provide meals for people at risk of food poverty. This is one thing that I like about these guys in this story, is that, you know, they're trying to do a preventative method rather than, oh, let's put a band-aid over the problem and hope no one sees it, or just try and keep fixing the problem when really the problem is capitalism. What they're trying to do is they're trying to prevent things from happening, keep people out of food poverty. So what they're doing is they're doing a free course meal where people can sit down, conversate with other people, especially if people are lonely. They can go and meet other people, and they can eat food that basically would have gone to waste. The meals are 100% vegetarian, so you know it's good for the environment, and just good for your body too. And they are prepared by a team of volunteers. What a more fantastic story to end the day on. Now, please do Google Food Cycle. They are really cool, awesome people. I love them. I think they're amazing. If I'm ever in the ends again, because it looks like a long time before I'm going to be able to travel again with all this COVID madness. But if I am in the ends again, I'm definitely going to check them guys out. I'll try and do a little video with them guys. You know what I mean? You know I love a little interview. But yeah, they were founded back in 2009 in London. Now they've opened projects all across the country. But they do need volunteers. They do need support. So do check them out. Someone from Food Cycle said on the piece, Food Cycle's free community meals across the festive season will not only provide free meals for those that need them, but the chance for people from all walks of life to sit down together. Volunteer roles at Food Cycle are completely flexible. without a minimum time commitment, and roles range from collecting surplus food to cooking to welcoming guests when they arrive with a smile and a cup of tea. I just love that shit, man. Yeah, man. I love good people doing good things. So if you've got a good story about people doing stuff, or you got a trade union story, hit me up, man. Hit me up, man. Now I got some big news for you guys. Oh my days. Woo-hoo. I'm excited about this one. Tomorrow we have got the family coming through. We have got them people, them bad mans, them bad gal, them bad ones. It's the Palestine Action Massive are coming on the show tomorrow. Oh, I spat a little there. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Palestine Massive Palestine Action are coming on the show tomorrow. They're going to be telling us about what they've been up to this year. Obviously, on the previous show with Bywire, they came on. They told us, we did a little live thing with them when they were in London. But them guys are shutting Elbit down. They came over to Liverpool a little while ago. They tried to shut down the arms trade fair. Big up them lot for doing what they do. They are massive. I cannot wait to see my beautiful friends at Palestine Action tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned in, 9:30 p.m. right here, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Download. Put it on your TV screen, and I can say I'm broadcasting to your TV screens too. If you can help out people, please definitely do. Make a little donation to my PayPal. If not, no worries. You just enjoy your evening. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow, hit the like, hit the share. You know what it is. My name is Dan Lewis, and this is Dan Lewis Live from thinkbecome.uk. Peace, love, and solidarity, my people. Mwah!